Hello, dear friends. My name, as you know, is Brother Sean, and I would like to share with you a heart reflection on what does spiritual prostitution really mean for us today, especially as we live in such a beautiful world, a free gift from the Supreme, but a world that has become so confused with so many mixed messages coming to us from the media and the world at large. And I think of the words when I was a young nursing monk, when an older monk said to me, "Desolate is the whole world laid desolate, because no man thinks in his heart." For me, spiritual prostitution literally means to prostitute your spiritual gifts, to sell them to the cheapest bidder who's offering you instant success, appeasing your ego, filling you with a load of nonsense. You only have to look at programs like The X Factor on television, where they put themselves through a grueling process of experiencing fame. For some, it's a one-night stand. But for those, as you know, who've been successful and make it to the final and who become the winner, yes, they go on to sell many records or appear in many wonderful places in front of huge audiences. But their life is no longer their own, is it? Well, it can't be, because the company who invested in their interest, who groomed them for the success, will have a hold on their life. For example, their manager, the PR company. They will want a dividend for their stake in your success. And so it is today. Many of you, myself included, will have experienced a déjà vu experience in our life. Often it happens when we hit rock bottom, when we hear an inner voice speak to our heart. "I have loved you with an everlasting love, and I have called you by your name." Who do you think is saying that to you today? Well, it's certainly not Simon Cowell from The X Factor, and it's certainly not old Nick, the Antichrist. Of course you're right. It is from the Supreme, a loving Father, Mother God, who called you by your name from the moment you were conceived. In fact, before you were born, you were a divine spirit in the eternal city of love. And here we are, in a beautiful world, where Gaia takes care of all our needs, and where the ascended masters and the angelic realm look over us, and they try to warn us off spiritual prostitution, prostituting God's gifts for the sake of instant fame. And that happens on so many levels, don't you think? In relationships. I found it in nursing because, as you know or may not know, I started my nursing career as a young nursing monk, having joined a nursing order back in the 60s. And throughout my 38-year nursing career, I've been so privileged indeed to meet such wonderful, courageous people. And my colleagues that I worked with, even when I was a senior charge nurse and then a senior nurse in palliative care, nurses are a rare breed, don't you think? Many of us our wounded soldiers. Many of us have lived in or had unhappy lives. And if you're watching today and you're one of those who's deeply unfulfilled or unhappy, and someone misconstrues your affection as a nurse practitioner, say it's a person of the opposite sex or the same sex, and they start falling in love with you, as has happened to me, your inner voice tells you, back off. You cannot cross your boundaries. Some do, and they end up attracting individuals into their life who are not genuine, they're fair weather. And often the rescuer rescues another rescuer, one who's not fulfilled, who abuses, who controls, who disempowers. That in a way is indirectly linked, in my understanding of spiritual prostitution, where you prostitute yourself for the sake of a little tiny weeny bit of happiness. But is it happiness? Of course it's not. It's control. And you look at all those beautiful souls who are trapped in domestic violence. They convince themselves that their attacker, their partner, will stop, that they will be able to reform them. And they don't, and they can't, and they won't. And they endure such hardship and misery. That in a way is selling yourself short and accepting second best, don't you think? It is my belief that when we surrender our hearts to love, to the Supreme, not religion, to spirituality, and we hear that inner voice, I called you by your name, I have loved you with an everlasting love, then there is no room for prostituting yourself, of selling yourself short and giving away your pearls of great price. Allow me read this to you. I am a mighty God. Nothing is too difficult for me. I have chosen to use the weak ones, like you, to accomplish my purposes. And it says, your weakness is designed to open you up to my power. Therefore, do not fear your limitations or measure the day's demands against your strengths. What I require of you is to stay connected to me, living in trusting dependence on my limitless resources for you. When you face unexpected demands, as you will, there is no need to panic. No need to panic. Remember that I am with you. Talk with me and listen while I talk to you through each challenging situation. I am not a careless God. When I allow difficulties to come into your life, I equip you fully to handle them. Relax in my love, trusting in my strength. What are those words saying to your heart today? Well, what they're saying to mine is trust. Have no fear. Do not doubt the power of God. And do not compromise who you are as a child of God by selling yourself short, by throwing your gifts away to those who will disembowel you, who have no respect for you. Spiritual prostitution is as real today as prostitution per se. There are many out there who want to destroy us because they're threatened by us, because we have found something that is not of this world, because it is of God. And that love releases a light, a karmic light that draws wounded soldiers to us, for us to touch them with love, but not to prostitute God's gifts to us. Be strong.